Hey, this is Meredith with Astromatrix, and I'm going to be talking about in this video how to use our rising sign, and especially the element that our rising sign is, and different rituals that correspond with that element so that we can really make the most out of our rising sign. The rising sign in our astrology chart represents us. It's a very, very personal point. It's also known as the ascendant. And it's the celestial body that was rising over the eastern horizon at the exact time of our birth, which is why the time of birth is so important. And the rising sign is very much, it's the point in your chart that tethers you to physicality and your physical body. And it is the bridge between the 12th house, which is, the spiritual realms and the collective unconscious and all of this sort of like ether that hasn't materialized yet. And then, the rising sign is the materialization. And you can tell a lot about, the way that somebody carries themselves physically. You can tell a lot about the way that someone feels in their body using the rising sign. And it is definitely a very instinctual and borderline unconscious point as well. It represents our essence, and there are different practices and different rituals that we can do that really bring the most out of our rising sign and really can really fuel the positive traits of our rising sign. Whenever I'm doing any kind of ritual at all, I like to make sure that I'm really grounded and that I'm really centered, that I have some type of protection, because I want my intention when I'm doing any kind of ritual, whatever it is, to go far. I would like for it to have a real ripple. And so whenever I'm doing something that is ritualistic to connect to my rising sign or otherwise, I'm going to make sure that I'm really grounded and really centered, and even that my energy is meditative and expanded so that I'm able to create the ripple that I'm seeking to create. For my fire sign risings like Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, I know that it sounds really cliche, and a lot of these will be because they are by element. It can be very cathartic and very connective for an Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius rising to look into a candle or to build a fire. If you have like a fire pit outside of your house, I personally have found, as somebody who is a Sag rising, that working magically with fire. So fire can be a very powerful tool to not only send our intentions out, but also to burn away what is not serving, and to it's a very powerful release tool, or I have found that as a fire rising. And you can even meditate to the sound of fire burning as a very helpful way to connect with yourself and your true essence. I don't care if you're an earth sun and a water moon, or a water sun and an earth moon. If you have a fire rising sign, you need to express yourself. There's something in you that needs to be expressed. Sometimes you can't even help it. It's just spontaneous, right? So I think about things like rage rooms, axe throwing, fighting sports, ecstatic dance, any type of movement, if you are a fire rising sign, is spiritual. And allowing your ritual to be spontaneous and not always needing to have it be on a schedule, like kind of going with what you feel, even though maybe we're not always encouraged to do that in this culture, is very, very helpful to kind of just cut loose for fire rising signs. If your rising sign is an earth sign, so Capricorn, Taurus, or Virgo, this means that things like nature walks, grounding, even though that's gardening, these things seem really cliche, but I think especially watching results form over time, where like if you plant a tree, you have to watch it grow until it grows and grows and grows. And that can be very satisfying to see results as an earth sign rising, even when you're engaging in like earth-based practices. And anything in the form of like houseplants, crystals, making lotions, making salves, making potions. This is what I think of as being very medicinal and a good way for earth sign rising people to relax, because sometimes they can get a little bit bound up in the physical. It is okay to pour into and check in with your third dimension as a earth rising sign. It's important to sometimes slow down and to take stock of everything, like your bank account, your nutrition, to look at your material life, because oftentimes earth rising people are not okay when their third dimension is not okay. They know that they need security and routine and to know a little bit what to expect from your reality. And it's okay to take the time that it takes to put those things in place, because, the money, the home, the structure, calendar, schedule, the security, these things take time every day to put in place. And if you have an earth rising, you're going to be a lot more calm when all of those things are organized and laid out. And, maybe engaging with your magical practice fairly routinely and regularly can help tether you to a sort of, this is what I do each day that keeps me whole and sane, because frankly, a lot of earth sign rising people are structures in other people's lives that keep the people around you centered. And so you have to be centered, and you have to do what it takes to be centered within. If you have an air sign rising, so Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius rising, the kind of Captain Obvious cliche ritual would be like burning an incense stick or doing some breath work, or maybe even doing some visualization, since air represents the mental realm. So, there's a lot of things that an air rising sign can accomplish using just your mind and your mind screen and visualization to put your intentions out there. You don't always need a physical tool to tether your magic, but I think personally that helps more the earth signs and the water signs. So another thing that helps the air signs with their rising sign and really getting the most of it is being a lifelong learner and the acquisition of knowledge. So some of the people that I know who have an air sign rising will read every day certain books that they want to read, and by the time the year is over, they'll have read, 20, 25 books, and that feels really good and very satisfying and very nourishing to someone with an air rising to continue learning. And whether that's reading or listening to podcasts or audiobooks or taking courses, just making sure that you're always sort of staying in the knowledge stream. Because I think that when this applies to everyone, but when air sign risings are not learning, they are not growing. And that is more felt, I think, for them than maybe some other rising signs. Much like the fire rising signs, the air rising signs really need some degree of spontaneity to be able to follow their curiosity. Sometimes doing things on a schedule and very regimented is not going to be helpful for an air sign rising, but maybe going to a town that you haven't really been to before, that's like a little day trip, and then, following your intuition and your curiosity and your sort of social appetite from one place to another, might be like a very cathartic way for you to, unwind and to cut loose. And I think that on that note, a very active support system, community and a network where you are able to have others be of service to you. You're able to be of service to others. There's a nice, healthy social reciprocity, and there's people that really care for you. You really care for them. That is a ritual. Making a phone call to a friend could be a ritual for someone with an air sign rising. If your rising sign is a water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, then you may find that drinking water, programming your intention into water, drinking water, making sure that you're hydrated and mineralized enough, as well as taking spiritual baths, or you can set out by your bed salt water or water that has herbs in it. This is a really profound way, in my opinion, to just connect with the element that you are. Additionally, living by water, going to water, lakes and rivers and oceans, just making sure that you have some proximity to that, as well as meditating and listening to the sound of running water can be a very good tool to connect with yourself and with your element. The other thing about water rising signs is that, in my opinion, water is the element that is most closely connected with the space between wake and sleep. So that sort of liminal space. So saying an intention or a prayer to yourself that you're going to remember your dreams, that you're going to interact in your dreams, and that you're going to be lucid in your dreams can be a really good way to, sort of connect with your subconscious and unconscious, and, really ensuring that you have enough emotional fulfillment in your life. I think that water rising signs are not meant to go it alone, though the tendency can for sure be there to isolate. I think having rich and deep, fulfilling connections can really be helpful in a different way maybe than air signs, but I think that water signs are very aware of the connection between themselves and other people, and sometimes even could benefit from differentiating a little bit and disconnecting and sending energy back to others that isn't necessarily theirs, and doing their best to kind of keep up with energetic hygiene and clearing practices, because the water rising signs really are sort of the spiritual vacuum cleaner for everybody else. So making sure that you have a way to get some of that out. And I think that using water in that process, visualizing water taking everything away, or allowing, like right now I'm sitting right by a river, just if I were to sit here and allow everything that I feel to go downstream, that would be very helpful in this way. If I were a water rising sign, which I am not, but I hope that this was helpful for you. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. And if you are curious what your rising sign even is, check out astromatrix.com and the Astromatrix app. And I look forward to coming here and sharing more with you soon. Thank you. Bye.